Big shift for Republican Party policies, moving even further away from conservative platform points of the past. Eamon Javers joins us now with a deeper look at the new conservative economics. Eamon, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Frank. I think this is not necessarily what a lot of folks on Wall Street are expecting. The first Trump presidency shattered conservative economic ideology on Republican Party's approach to free markets and tariffs, but the second Trump presidency could shatter it on just about everything else in economic policy. That's because the 2024 presidential election is taking place in a dramatically different economic and political context, and conservative economic thinkers have now spent years constructing an intellectual and policy framework around Trump's instinctive economic populist message. Now, what they've come up with is a worker-first, anti-corporate elite package of ideas that's increasingly popular in the party and in Trump economic circles. Now, folks at a new think tank called American Compass have been churning out white papers and policy proposals, all designed to reset Republican thinking on the economy. It's not clear how much clout they would have with a second Donald Trump administration, but Robert Lighthizer, one of the most influential voices on the economy in the Trump camp, sits on the board of directors of American Compass. Now, their movement rejects the idea that tax cuts are always the best policy and embraces unions, high tariffs, strict immigration limits, and a transaction tax on Wall Street. That's designed to stop what the new economic populists see as the financialization of the economy. Republican critics of the new thinking say it'll result in higher taxes, higher inflation, and less efficiency in the market. One critic dismissed it to me as big government conservatism. So if Trump wins a second term in 2024, expect Trump economic policy in 2025 to look more like this populist model than the low tax, low regulation approach of the last several generations of Republican politics. Frank, back over to you.
All right, so Eamon, remember, we're not even through 2024 yet, but you're already on 2025. So speaking of, I want to talk to you about the Trump tax cuts. So what does this all mean for just the possibility of renewing those tax cuts in 2025?
Well, I think if you talk to these economic populists, they say, I spoke to Oren Cass, for example, who founded American Compass, and he says tax cuts just aren't on the top of his economic priority list. He doesn't see them as vitally important in the way that Republicans in past generations have seen them. But what he does say is that, look, it looks like Trump will renew the Trump tax cuts from 2017 if he's reelected in 2024. And the reason is because they have his name on them, right? They're important to Donald Trump politically. The question is whether or not the corporate rate gets thrown into this debate. Remember, back in 2017, they lowered the taxes on individuals and on corporations. That corporate rate was made, quote unquote, permanent. So in theory, that's not up for renewal in 2025. But if the rest of the package is up for renewal, I've talked to some prominent Republicans, Frank, who worry that the corporate rate could be on the table with some of these economic populists who say, wait, we need that as a pay for to lower taxes on everybody else. So we need to raise revenue somewhere. And why should we defend these corporate elites? We get this Disney stuff, we get woke stuff, we get LGBT stuff that we don't culturally like. So why should we go to bat for these corporate executives when we really need this money elsewhere? That's not something that you've heard in the Republican Party before. It's new and different, and it comes out of the culture wars that are roiling the country, Frank.